David Hogg, who is the young school shooting Stoneman Douglas High School, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in South Florida, he was, of course, has become an outspoken anti-gun advocate, and now is on basically a co-chair, assistant chair, whatever he is, of the Democratic Party, and he's been talking, doing a lot of media appearances. And he went on Jake Tapper last night to talk about, how it's important that the Democratic Party rally behind Chris Van Hollen, and that this is really the model for what the Democratic Party ought to be doing. This is what the party ought to be doing. It's the future of the party. Sorry, this was on Friday, just to be clear. All right, so this is what was said.
Our party is in a crisis. We are seeing people lose faith in our party. They're losing faith in democracy across the country. And we need to make sure that we're getting people to vote for Democrats, not simply because we're not Donald Trump, but because we have a better message, a better option for them. Not simply the less bad of two options, as I think Carville tries to promote when he says, well, we just shouldn't say anything. Carville believes in a politics of being timid, of hiding. I believe in fighting. And that is what people want to see right now from the Democratic Party. We just saw an example of that with Senator Van Hollen going to El Salvador to say, we need to meet with this man.
Okay. But by the way, nothing timid historically about Carville, right? Carville, a loud and brash guy, they used to call him the Raging Cajun. Carville's almost dead. So might be, some of his so-called timidity. No, the problem that the Democratic Party has with democracy, and Carville and a lot of other party grandees are to blame for this, is that they've not prioritized the will of their party members in selecting nominees. That's why the Democratic Party has a loss of faith among its membership when it comes to democracy. It's not an external problem, it's an internal problem, internal to Democrats. We Republicans have open and fair primaries. And we've had primaries where the upstart guy, i.e. Trump in 2016, comes up and it, beats everybody, even though he's a sub 1% candidate on day one. He won everybody over. He was not the party's selected candidate. He became the nominee and he won. The Democrats went into that fight, I don't have to remind you, with not the party favorite, not the people's favorite, not the Democrat voters' favorite, which would have been Bernie Sanders. Instead, they shuffled poor Bernie off to the side and installed Hillary Rodham Clinton. We all know how 2016 turned out. Shockingly, right? They couldn't rig the election enough to have her win. That's the problem. But again, you're going to hang your, if Hogg wants to hang his entire party on this idea that Chris Van Hollen stunting flying down to El Salvador and championing, an MS-13 gangbanger, if that's what the future is, I mean, gosh, blows my mind. But really, at the end of the day, they don't care whether or not they are right on this. They're using it to get the airtime. They're using it what they think that it'll gain them political leverage. And I think we are far more skeptical as Americans of this BS than we ever have been.